I just finished up one of the best climbs of my entire life. I gained 100 SP all the way up to rank 6 in the world with a deck that genuinely wasn't really even on my radar. An absolute monstrosity of powerful cards and good reactive tech combined with the ability to make smart decisions makes this one of the most underrated decks in the entire game. For the last few weeks, a lot of people have been messing around with what you would describe as just like Juggernaut Zabu tech shells, and that's really what this is, but it has trimmed all of the fat. I believe the person who sort of popularized them on ladder was Chamo. He was playing like Athena Kitty Pride package. And instead of doing any of that stuff, this deck has said, you know what? We're not going to do anything conditional. We're not going to do anything weird. We are going to play 6 season pass cards. Every one of them is going to be able to carry their own weight. We are going to go completely ballistic in terms of having answers to basically everything, despite not having a Shang-Chi, which is a little bit questionable, but I did not find actually hurt me, and then just be able to move power around on the final turn of the game to set up checkmates and generally put your opponent in awkward positions. The star of this deck, in my opinion, is actually Juggernaut. This is a deck that really cares about Juggernaut being active, and as such has some meaningful weaknesses to cards or decks that are able to fill up locations with a lot of alacrity. This is, on the other hand, also a deck that has a general weakness to decks that can go drastically over the top of it, right? We don't play Shang-Chi, we don't play Shadow King. This gives us a particularly poor matchup into something like Move Bounce, and even discard some of the time can be problematic if they're able to full combo off and we don't really have the Red Guardian or the Enchantress to deal with what it is that they're actually able to do. But right now, we are in a metagame that is actually a fair bit lower in terms of point output than we have been in a while. We've come from a move bounce metagame to a pretty heavy discard metagame to a metagame now that is a little bit more balanced. I talked about how in my last video, whenever the Infinaut is winning lanes on its own, that's when the good machine deck is as good as it can be. This is a similar dynamic, where when there are decks that are just fully outpointing you and you're playing something like this, you're going to run into a lot of trouble. But right now, this feels like basically the perfect build for the metagame because nothing is going too tall and you just have a collection of incredibly powerful cards at your disposal. Zabu is sort of a glue card in this list, and Zabu's really come to a lot of prominence recently because of decks like this, but also because of the nerf to Hydra Bob. When Hydra Bob is a 1-5, Zabu is a much harder inclusion to make. When Hydra Bob is a 1-4, the relative difference between them is notably less, and so you're actually very okay sacrificing a couple points of power for the chance to get out something like Galactus a turn early, or even just to enable a Juggernaut plus 4 drop that actually costs 3 on the final turn of the game. That stuff is kind of what you're really trying to do in this deck, and Zabu games, while not a snap condition in and of themselves, are going to make things a lot easier for this deck. I made a joke earlier about this being like season passes the deck, but it really is, and it sort of speaks to the way in which they design season passes, because it's not just season passes the deck, it's also like there's 2 very specific types of season passes that are in here, and I'm gonna give Zabu an exception here because it's been reworked, it's like a totally different card. It still counts as a season pass, but it's not one of the 2 types, and the 2 types are basically a 2-3 with upside, and then a 4-6 with upside. And it's like, it is interesting that they keep returning to that well, right? Like, we have Kate Bishop here, 2-3, put stuff in your hand. Obviously, you have upside with clog stuff. It's very hard for this card to be bad. And I feel like I'm going to say the sentence, it's very hard for this card to be bad about every one of the 2-3s, right? Like, that's sort of the selling point for all of these 2-3 season pass cards is like, it's just never going to be that bad. There is no world in which you're like, damn, this lost me the game. It's just not happening. Kate Bishop is so good. You get a ton of ability to just like have bodies to put on the board, various utility pieces that can move stuff around or clog your opponent. Just generally an excellent card to have access to, and it's all attached to a 2-3. Iron Patriot is like Kate Bishop, but with higher high rolls and, lower low rolls, right? Like when this guy doesn't actually go off, he is kind of sucky, but when he does go off, he is obviously an excellent method of cheating energy. I think the easiest way to point out how strong Iron Patriot can be is to make the comparison to Sarah. Very often, you play a Sarah on turn 5, you're cheating 3 or 4 energy. You play an Iron Patriot and win the Iron Patriot lane, guess how much energy you're cheating? That's right, it's 4. So this is just a very strong card at base. You're a deck that needs any kind of stats it can get, and so getting stats out of this card for free is just absolutely as good as you can get from any early game card. I just did a video about how absolutely busted Sam Wilson is, and I stand by that. I think he's basically the best card in the game. There are many times where I feel like I should be prioritizing him over Iron Patriot. It doesn't happen all the time, but it happens enough that I pay attention to it. And this is an extremely powerful card that has a great ability to scale upwards. You can use your Sam Wilson shield, not always to autopilot to make sure that he gets as big as possible, because sometimes it's just far more important to make sure you're not getting clogged or protect your stuff from Red Guardian and things like that. Make sure you don't tunnel vision on Sam Wilson autopilots, because I think that is the number one thing that people are going to get wrong about this card. Is sometimes you don't need the points here and everyone is going to expect you to move it. Another Sam Wilson tip is that if you have him against a Scream deck, a lot of the time what I will do is move it every turn anyway and just accept that I'm going to get to -5 or so on the shield, and that allows me to have it be a little bit more localized. I can chuck that in a lane that I'm winning by a lot, or I can chuck that in a lane that I'm not winning at all and just sacrifice that lane entirely, as opposed to an even distribution of Scream procs on your guys. That stuff does matter, and I think that's a thing that not a lot of people are twigging onto right now. Just a little bit of a Sam pro tip. The Juggernaut is honestly kind of the star here. This is a deck that does rely on him to win lanes. You normally have enough to win one lane with stats, right? You're not so far off every other deck that you can't win one lane with stats. But the way it typically goes is you win one lane with stats and then you win one lane with Jug. And that's just pretty much how the play pattern of the deck ends up being played out. While he is notably worse thanks to the amount of Sam Wilsons running around, he is a little bit better than I think people give him credit for, in part because basically everyone I play against, even at the highest levels of the game, is still sort of autopiloting their Sam Wilsons, meaning you're pretty well gonna know when you can and can't actually fire this guy off with some reasonable precision. This is a card that has generalized upside. It's also just a 3/5 you can play behind an Iron Patriot if you don't have priority or if they have something in that lane. That's just good enough too. His role is combination tech card / in a pinch Iron Patriot backup. Kind of the same thing going on here with Rocket and Groot, where if you put this on an Iron Patriot lane, especially if you do something like Zabu into Iron Patriot, which happens a lot in this deck, specifically because we don't have a lot of ways in order to make sure we're winning Iron Patriot lanes. So having a 3 that moves away and is still a reasonable threat to win an Iron Patriot lane is a really big deal. This guy plays as a 3/5 if you have priority in that Iron Patriot lane and they play 1 card. It plays as a 3/7 if they play 2. Very difficult for people to overcome this in an Iron Patriot lane with priority. And of course, Sam Wilson is helping you make sure that you have priority by just putting a guy on the board. In theory, Copycat should be the most replaceable card in this deck, but every time I played this deck, she was just doing clutch stuff. And yes, there is some amount of RNG in that, but it's also the fact that she just has this clutch upside while also just being a 3/5. And yes, I had my fair share of games where she copied an Ebony Maw or an Infinite, and those suck. But just having the upside of 3/5 plus is actually weirdly really important here because of the Iron Patriot stuff, because of all the struggles with points that I've talked about, and because it's kind of hard for me to imagine what I would want as a replacement. If you get something like Gladiator, it can be vulnerable to Shang-Chi via Galacta or via Gwenpool, frankly, And there's a lot of big stuff running around that makes me not want to play Gladiator anyway. If you put something like Speed in here, well, we aren't actually all that great at curving out. He's probably going to be reasonably sized, but maybe not big enough or not a great speed deck compared to other speed decks. And so that leaves me in a weird spot where I think this card is, in theory, replaceable, but I can't come up with a single thing that I would actually rather be running right now. The next two slots are the really interesting ones, because I think that you could reasonably play Shang-Chi instead of either Captain Marvel or Enchantress. And I think that long-term, that is probably something that makes sense. I've enjoyed having Captain Marvel here, but I'm not sure she's been actively better than Shang-Chi. She has been a lot better than I thought she would be, in part because I don't know if this deck can devote that many slots to tech and still be able to win the games where the tech stuff isn't relevant. And so that is what she's doing. It is good to have her here. She was good for me, but I would not remotely be opposed if someone was like, Cam, you're an idiot. Go play Shang-Chi instead. That is a totally acceptable criticism, in my opinion. I think the same applies here. Again, though, like, part of why I like Enchantress is because, like, when Enchantress is bad, it is a 4-6, right? When Shang-Chi is bad, it is a 4-3. And there is a gap there. Now, there are going to be some matchups that are just out of reach because you don't have access to this kind of stuff. But there are less of those. And frankly, a lot of those matchups are good at making Shang-Chi not matter anyway. Like, oh yeah, the move bounce gamer is going to give you a functional Shang-Chi. Come on, they're not going to do that. The discard gamer, if they know what they're doing, is not going to give you to target the Shang-Chi until the final turn of the game, and they're not going to have priority, so you're not going to be able to do it anyway, right? Like, all the decks that can do this are not really going to be something that you're super worried about. The one major exception is the War Machine Infinite deck, where you actually really will miss Shang-Chi, but you do have the ability to turn off their War Machine, and that is pretty sick. Of course, there is a major ongoing deck going around, which is part of why Enchantress is so solid right now. Plenty of Doom 2099 stuff happening, but really this is just because there's an ongoing deck running around. If you want to play Shang-Chi instead of either of these two, I have no objections. Galacta is sort of the glue here. Like, this is a deck that we've talked about the ways in which it can lack total point output. We've talked about all that stuff. This card is supplementing basically all of that. And I realize it's not the only card doing that. Like, Iron Patriot supplements your points, Sam Wilson supplements your points. They all do that. But Galacta is the one where it's like, this is really making it happen. This is the card that is like your big threat that effectively diversifies you across multiple lanes. This is the card that makes it so Juggernaut wins one lane and your stats win another. Like, that's what she does. And so she's a very important piece of this list. Gwenpool is not nearly so important. In fact, I would argue she might actually be the secret most replaceable card in this deck. And a lot of that is because you don't necessarily have a lot of Galacta into Gwenpool +1. It's actually not very common. You really only have Zabu and, of course, your Kate Bishop arrows to do that, sometimes an Iron Patriot card, and that's really where Gwenpool shines. And so a lot of the time you're going to get better output, not necessarily value, but output out of playing other cards on those turns, because you're not going to be able to guarantee where her hits are going to go, and if her hits go on the wrong stuff, like, you're not going to be playing them anyway. She's not bad, just like she is bad compared to Galacta. That's really what I'm trying to get across here. All right, y'all, thank you so much for making it through that video. I want to take this time to note that I really am sorry for the technical issues on my video that I did on the Infinite deck. I did not notice the technical issues until I had uploaded them, and by the time I went public with the video, there had been copyright claims on the music, which, don't worry about that. It's just a thing that happens sometimes. I have to dispute the copyright claims because I do have a license to the music, but it's like a whole process on YouTube. And so once I've disputed the claims, I am unable to clip any part of the video out. I no longer have access to the editing tools, and so that is why that stayed there. I do apologize for that, but, you know, blame the people doing the copyright stuff, not me. As always, I have been KM Best. You have been phenomenal. We're going to jump into some gameplay, and I'll try to make sure it doesn't get corrupted this time. Have a good one. Alright, we got the, yes. Ballade. Okay. I can do stuff. That's really scary. It's like a Morbius, right? Perfect. Okay, so the Red Guardian is actually perfect here. I don't know if I snap it, though. If that is a Frigga, I probably should have snapped. Dakin. See, it's not like a snap, right? They have Dakin Frigga. It's not good enough. I can tell you the 113 is not good enough. Because it goes to 32. What do you mean they're going to need more than that? They have another Dakin in hand. So they play a Dakin, it goes to 32. What the fuck are you guys talking about? Are you guys on crack? The only question is where they play it. Because I can, like, Juggernaut for a 50-50 if I want to try it. So are you doing it here? Actually, so 32, 34. This is 16 plus 19. Hold on. Alright, I mean, I hope I get it right. Dakin go middle. Please? Okay. Let's go! We gamed. They won the shit out of that mid lane. Like, I feel like they're actually throwing by making that play most of the time. That's crazy. They're a helideck. They'll get their energy anyway. I just want to accelerate my total power. Okay. Gonna go out on a limb and assume they drew a Hela. No idea what happens here. Where do they end up? Everything ends up right. I don't know. Whammo. Well, it's a good thing none of that happens right now. Oh my god. Oh my god. Wait. Okay, we win off a Captain Marvel move. Alright. Sure. Most reasonable Hella game. So, you know, follow here, follow there, follow everywhere. Is top 10 good? Yeah, it's okay. That -2 in there, huh? Earn Patriato. Alright, leader. Your time, buddy. My hand is good enough. I'm chill with it. That's kind of wild. Thank you, Coin and Cleavage. They're gonna kill... Oh, rocks. Right. Thanks, I guess. Much obliged. Should put more rocks in this deck, honestly. Damn, I didn't get the rocks in there fast enough. If we leader the Misery mid, do we get infinite power? Kinda. Okay, the Misery going over there is pretty funny. Okay, the basic arrow dying. Wait. That's hysterical. I mean, I feel like I'm just trying to set up for at least one death, you know what I mean? Hiya. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, you know. Yeah, you know. It's pretty good. Oh, leader. Ooh, 2099. Galactic buff? Oh, fuck. I'm an idiot. My bad. Doom? It's nice. But I'm pretty sure I win this one. Oh, wait, no, we tie? Oh, wait, no, I just win, yeah. I was pretty sure. I was pretty sure. I forgot what Iron Lad was. I was like, I don't really give a shit. But it was evidently something that got points. Gotta be something. Sebi Shaw. Alright. Got the Gwenpool Shaw copycat, dude. We're popping off. Got the Shaw... The Shawmy Chonga. Oh my god, it's going crazy? The Shami Shanga over here? Oh, you'll never expect it. He'll never expect a 9 power here. Heyo. Oof. That's that shit I do like. Nice. I don't know, does this make sense? You play around Kang? Fuck no. That's Kang. So I'm kind of thinking that if I'm him, what I'm doing is moving this and then Zolaing now. So this would be 6 here. I don't think we get there. We'll be adding 12 to here, it'd be 20. I feel like there is definitely a Zola play for him here, and I don't like it. We win, I think. That's not actually 25, it's 17. I was mapping out if we had anything that could contest the Zola thing and also this. I think we would have lost to the Zola still. I'm not built that way. What SP is that? I have no idea. I refuse to even check. RSM game. Would I rather play Sam than Iron Patriot? I realize that sounds ridiculous, but like... Okay, now I would not. Now I'm fucking playing this. Now that I have done what I've just done. I mean... It's gotta be broken, right? Like, I find it hard to believe that having 2 3-cost Dooms isn't broken as shit. Like, I don't even give a fuck about winning this Iron Patriot lane. This is just some dumb shit. That 0-7 is literally just a 0-7. It's doing nothing. It does not fucking matter. Whoa. Whoa. Alright, that is pretty crazy, though. Are we just gonna say we can cheat energy harder? Part of me wants to go for that. I genuinely do not care. How fucked up is that? Like, I care slightly. The 8's definitely going middle. The question is Rocket and Groot also going middle? Yeah, I would fucking leave. I also do know that Sam moves the shield. I know that too. RSM Gamer. Just making sure I wasn't asleep. Yeah. Sam? No? Okay, they're getting my shield. Fair enough. Right on time, Sam. You're doing amazing, sweetie. I'll snap. My acid arrow. Oh no, my Thanos. Oh Jesus. Oh Jesus, my Thanos. I mean, that is horrifying, right? Like this, probably? Okay, we're good. The Mirage Thanos is crazy. Should I buy Iron Patriot? I need a new card to have fun with. Iron Patriot is super fun. In the sense that it's, like, pretty broken. You know what I mean?